Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Will, and I have a very special guest with me here today. He is a filmmaker, an editor, an animator, among many other talents, and hardly needs any introduction. You may know him as the Angry Video Game Nerd. Everyone, please welcome James Rolfe. Hey, welcome.
We got a crowd there. Awesome.
Oh yeah, we got a crowd here just for you. Just for you. No, awesome. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. This is nuts to have you on here. You're kind of like one of my personal idols in being able to get into this industry. So that is amazing. Thank you again for being here. And I really like your Samuel Adams shirt. It's good.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe later. Yeah. I was expecting Rolling Rock, but Samuel Adams is good too. Here we go. No.
Everybody, I get that all the time now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I am forever the Rolling Rock guy, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Totally. I'm sure.
Yeah. At PAX a couple weekends ago, so I had to stop by the Sam Adams Brewery.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Good.
Yeah, PAX East in Boston.
Well, how was that actually? Like, how was PAX?
Yeah, it was my first time exhibiting a game there. Usually I'm just exploring, but this time I'm showing the AVGN game. There's two of them before, but now this is a re-release of the first two. A little bit of changes, like there's some updates to them and some new levels and stuff like that.
Nice. You're talking about the like the side-scrolling one that was like on Steam. I remember playing that one a few years ago. That's really good.
Oh, nice, awesome, yeah.
Nice.
And there should be more after that. Yeah, well.
Nice. Yeah, super excited about that. Awesome. Well, let's gear it back to the past, if you will. So you've had a passion for film and video games, obviously, since you were a child. Can you tell our audience about some of those early days making film and playing video games? Like, what kind of got you into these passions at the beginning?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I mean, it might have just. I mean, it really just started from just loving movies and then wanting to make my own. But I didn't know anybody who made their own movies. It wasn't like a thing back then. Whoever it was, you weren't aware of it. No internet. We had video technology though. It was coming along, but it was. I mean, video. Nobody took it serious back then. Like if you were a filmmaker, you're supposed to shoot film, but slowly video technology overcame it. And I knew that was going to be the future, so I stuck with video. I went to college, and it was more based on film. Everybody was about film there. But I saw video as the way of the future. Thought I was compromising my shots more when I was shooting film, and then come back from the lab and something wasn't right. Cameras were bulkier. They were a lot more difficult, but. Well, yeah, I know that wasn't the question, film versus video. The question was, what was it like starting out? No, but yeah, it was just making movies in my backyard, and that just evolved.
So one thing that I do want to mention, in starting out those early days, I believe you mentioned this in your Cinemassacre 100 documentary, or it might have been a different video. I can't remember. But I remember you talking about using like 2 VCRs to edit. And then also like recording your own sound effects just like while you're editing. Could you talk us more about that process and how you even like figured out that you could do like edit that way?
Yeah, it was basically just doing whatever you could to get through. Like you needed to edit to make movies, and that was something nobody would have thought of back then. Like when you're filming movies with your friends, you just figure you hit record, and that's the movie. You hit record, you hit stop, and that's all. You shoot it in order. There's no second takes, nothing. And then I was like, I want to make it the real way. I want to do it the real thing. I want to edit and put the movie together. I want the luxury to be able to shoot out of order if needed and, do more than one take. But it wasn't really possible. So I figured out a way to do it on 2 VCRs. I was kind of inspired by a class that I took. There was a class that I took Saturday and summer courses at an art university, and this one course I took in the 90s. This was like analog equipment. They had like these 2 big decks, which were basically like 2 VCRs, but they were a lot more frame accurate. We could pause right on the frame you need, and then you record. It's analog, so you still have to edit linear. You have to edit in order, but still, you were able to get clean cuts without the VCRs would make that like that like rainbow and all the colors would come on screen and the static, you know.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, let me figure out how to do this on two VCRs. So I would do it, and it was messy. But then I found out you can get a VCR with a flying erase head, they called it, so it was a cleaner cut. It was still really difficult to time the edits because you had to hit play on one, and then right when the part was coming up, you had to hit record on the other. But there was a delay, and I got it figured out where like if I had the record deck on pause, like the record tape, it was like 13 frames off. So I knew like if I hit record, it was going to basically record over the last 13 frames, or was the next 13 frames. I forget which. So there was that, but then at the same time you had to time the play one. And then when you get into the audio stuff, all that, like you were talking about doing the sound effects as it's going, then it just gets so complicated. There's so much to explain. Like there was a camera connected to the VCR, and there was a volume knob on like a boombox, and then I had like sound music running in, and I had sound. You know, I was doing the sound effects, a live audio mix. Yeah, I mean, literally, picture me with like just talking in the mic while turning the music up and down while hitting record at the right time. It was like this. It was crazy.
Continuing on that topic of resourcefulness, can you tell us about how you used using your garage like as a film set for like some horror movies, and I believe you also like turned it into a haunted house for kids to come by as well.
Yeah, so that was like more than 20 years ago now. There was a garage, my parents' garage. I turned into a haunted house like every year for Halloween. Actually, it was formerly the basement. So I would take over the basement, and then eventually moved out to the garage. And I filmed the horror film "The Deader the Better" in there, which was meant to look like this huge cemetery set, but it looked bigger on camera because you'd fill it with fog, and then once it's all foggy, you just couldn't really see what was beyond. Well, I covered the walls with black fabric, and then put dead trees in front of that. And then with the fog, it kind of just made it seem like you were outside at night, and I liked that. So yeah, that was like my home base back then.
So any fan of your videos knows that you're a huge fan of practical effects. You use them in a lot of projects, in the movie, in the episodes a lot. Can you talk about like some films that solidified that passion to continue implementing them into your work? And are there any like standout practical effects that you're like particularly proud of or a fan of that you did?
Oh, okay. The film's inspired, and then the practical effects I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was the original King Kong was the stop motion, and all the other techniques they did to make the actors be able to appear next to the dinosaurs and Kong and everything. That they had to do rear screen projection. They had to do like the compositing, like the old like blue screen. I don't even know if it was a blue screen or whatever they shot it on, and then all these different ways. Or sometimes the actors were actually projected into the stop motion scenery, and frame by frame they would just advance a frame on the projector, so they'd be animating the dinosaur next to the person. All that stuff got me really inspired.
So the Angry Video Game Nerd started 2004. How did like this idea even come about?
I mean, just from playing games as a kid, I guess. So some of those memories stuck with me, and I thought it'd be funny to kind of go back and make fun of these older games that I remembered that I hadn't played in a while, too. Well, I started playing them in college again with some of my friends. It would be like a little trip down memory lane. And one time we were playing, we played a whole bunch of them, but we definitely played Castlevania 2 one time, and we were playing, and we were like, you know what, this game kind of sucks actually. Like this wasn't as good as I remember.
Yeah.
And then just nitpicking things just for the sake of nitpicking. Like why do the stairs go up and then stop? Like who would have a stairwell that just goes to nowhere? How are the platforms floating in the air? Who would eat turkey that they found inside of a wall? Like this game doesn't make any sense. And then so the first time I put that to like words was in the first nerd video. Well, it didn't have any title or anything. It was just bad NES games, Castlevania 2, um, which isn't even that entirely bad. Just a game with some problems. But um, second one was more about the character. That was Jekyll and Hyde. So that was just appear on camera and just be a character. Just it was kind of just a little gag. And then there wasn't any for a while. And then YouTube came out. Then I decided to do a third one, Karate Kid, and that's really the one that started it. That was the first one that had the title, The Angry Nintendo Nerd, and I put it up there. I called it the Nerd Trilogy. Thought that would be it, just 3 episodes. But then everybody started coming in like, oh, you got to do more. There's you should do some other games, and I was like, yeah, this could go on more, sure. And then I tried some other ones, and each episode it got more and more attention, and then it evolved from there.
Nice. No, that's awesome. It just shows, just like keeping going, and then these things blow up. But that's nice. I mean, obviously it deserved it. But I want to talk a little bit about one of the most iconic things about the Nerd is the theme song. Can you tell us a little bit about how the song was created, just like that process with Kyle?
Yeah, me and my friend Kyle, we were just talking about it. It was probably there was like 4 or 5. I'm gonna say 5 or 6 episodes out, and then we were like, hey, this could use a theme song maybe. And Kyle's he was a music major in college with me, and the Nerd song was something totally different than what he would normally write, but it was just something as a joke. So he was like, hey, I'll do this, and we started just thinking of quotes from the episodes. And we just got together to talk about like how it should sound. And he came up with like just like some basic chords that would be, catchy. Like we were looking at we're just talking about bands like Green Day, where they're pretty simple to play, but they're catchy and it's cool. Like people who are just starting to learn guitar, like it's a good way to start learning. So this was something that he saw would be maybe people would start covering the song maybe. And they did. He was right. Lots of people started covering the song, and they've done it all in different styles and different ways. And we love that. We think that's awesome.
It is awesome. I remember that episode specifically. I don't remember which episode it was, but the theme song was basically just a bunch of cuts of people doing their own covers of the song.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The Angry Video Game Nerd.
But going back, like some of my favorite episodes are like the ones where like little to no game is actually being played. Like for example, the Atari 5200 review and like the Magnavox Odyssey episode, like whatever gameplay you can show for the Odyssey. But can you tell us more about the production of those, where like it involves more like planning, like for filming wise, and not usually using as much gameplay?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're all different. Yeah, the easiest ones are when it's one game. I mean, none of them are easy, but if it's just one game and you're just critiquing it, it's mostly just writing it, finding like the criticisms and like writing something out. But then the ones where like, any time where it has more than one camera angle, if besides just me on the couch, then it just gets more and more complicated. And then if there's special effects, then they get, even more. Yeah, they're totally different. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. They're so different. But one off the top of my head was Polybius, and the idea was to make it look like a found footage horror film. So it seemed like it would have been simpler because we're not looking for like a big production. We want it to look real simple, but it was actually harder to do than it was one of the hardest ones I've ever done, actually. Because even to get it to look decent, you had to have lights, but we couldn't look like there was a light. It had to look like this was just under natural lighting, so we had to disguise it. So that was really tough.
I can definitely tell you that was that's one of my favorite episodes. Like, you had me on the edge of my seat on that one for sure. And that being one of the more recent episodes, it's been great to see like kind of like a resurgence in the nerd lately. I feel like we've been getting more episodes than we have recently, and that might have been having to do with because you were so busy with the movie as well. But can you kind of talk about like more like, because you also started a newer series like Cinemassacre seems to be popping off lately. You got rental reviews now, more nerds videos coming out. Can you tell us about just kind of like the new stuff, kind of the new stuff you guys are doing?
Oh yeah. The guys who do the rental reviews with me, like they're all employees of Screenwave, and they help with the nerd episodes now. So a lot of the work is off my back. I mean, I still have to be in it. I still have to like give my criticisms or like be funny. But they do all the editing for one thing. They do a lot of like the special effects, and they help me record the gameplay and stuff, and like take notes with me, and the last one that I did entirely start to finish, that was all me, was Earthbound, which took several months. But yeah, anytime I work on an episode, it's going to take a few months, even if it's simple. But after this, I have no more time now. There's no time in my life to do it the way I used to. So I have a lot more help with the episodes. They're a lot more collaborative now than they were before. So yeah, that's how it's going now. So they've been helping out a lot.
Nice, that's awesome. Well, I want to go back. Like, that Earthbound episode is like probably one of my favorite episodes that you've ever done. Like,
oh, cool.
that episode. Like, I love the game as well, and being able to see you experience it for the first time, pretty much in the same, very similar ways that I experienced it for the first time, was super cool. So yeah, no, that was great. But
awesome.
Speaking of like favorite episodes, like, is there any so that's like one of mine. Is there any like personal favorite episodes that you've done back in the day? I mean, there's so many. That's a very like loaded question, but I'm sure like there's probably got to be one or two that stick out in your head as like, you know what, that was great.
Yeah. Now I'm tempted to bring up my video, because I did a top 10 video, and now I'm like, but it was a couple years ago. So now I'm thinking like, oh, what did I include? And I don't want to contradict myself, but you can change your mind too. I believe at the top I put Rob the robot, because I liked, it was it was kind of a story. I know Berenstain Bears was high up there. Now I would put Polybius in the top 10. I think that was after. I would make sure that goes up there. The Mega Man one, that's high up. There's a few basic ones that I think made the list also, like Dick Tracy. That's a pretty basic episode, but I think it had all the things in it that make a classic nerd episode. Like there's like a rising anger going on, and the game had all the problems. Oh, Jekyll and Hyde Revisited, actually, the second take at Jekyll and Hyde was one of my favorites too, as far as like the criticism of the game and just the amount of material the game gave me.
Yeah, it's funny, especially looking at Jekyll and Hyde, because I remember watching your episode of that, and then, of course, I did the bad thing. The whole reason you make these videos is to have the people avoid playing these games, but I had to pick it up for myself and see exactly how bad it was, and had the exact same experience of playing the game for 30 seconds and then dying, having no idea how I even died, and then I was like, yeah, this game's terrible. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah, that's how it always happens. So many people come up to me in the autograph lines and bringing all these games. I'm just thinking like, wow, I didn't know that there existed this many of them. Like I got signed as all the Simon's Quest games in existence, but there's more. There's still always more. But that was the plot of the movie too, was where the nerd is trying to criticize these games, but he realizes that people are buying them because he says they're bad. So it's this,
this fascination. We got to see how bad it is.
Yeah, it's like this side effect that I found was funny.
So over the years, I'm sure you're probably keeping track of this. Hopefully, like you mentioned it whenever you do a game on a new console. But do you know exactly how many consoles the nerd has covered or touched?
I don't know.
I know it's been a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because then if you count like the Pong games episode, there's like all those Pong systems. So if you count each of those, it could be a lot. I mean, I know that off the top of my head, there's some that I haven't done, like Fairchild Channel F, the FM Towns Marty, or whatever it's called. Yeah, then I just got a bunch of weird stuff. I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the nice thing about video games and doing a show like this. At least there's probably always going to be some material out there for you.
Yeah, yeah. You want to take a look at one? Let me see what I got. I'll be right back.
Yeah. He's showing us a console, guys.
Yeah.
What do we got? This is awesome.
So I don't know. Can you see this?
A little bit. It's a little. I kind of got that. Looks interesting.
Do you have any idea what the hell it is? Because I don't.
I have no idea. Is it a console or is it an accessory? It looks like a console, I guess.
Apparently, it's a console. I mean, it's wrapped up in wires right now, but it just has a bunch of buttons. It looks like it's called the
Does it take cartridges?
Amiprod. The Amiprod. Yeah, I don't know.
I can already tell what pun you're going to use with that one.
Yeah. I'm looking at like some instructions with it. I'm looking. So this one, it was sent to me from Poland, so it may be Polish itself. I'm not sure.
That looks amazing. Does it take cartridges?
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like it's built in. I think it's European for sure. Oh yeah. Let's see the.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's our evidence.
So I have to take a look at this. Might need some translation for the instructions, but I'm going to check it out at some point. I've had it for a while, but that's just an example of some of these obscure consoles that I have laying around. I just don't know what they are yet, and so it's always kind of fun to, to just experiment with all the stuff that you never knew existed.
Well, I'm looking forward to that episode whenever we get to see that. That looks awesome.
Yeah, we'll see if it works for one thing.
Right, yeah. I guess that's a big hurdle. These old things work now.
A lot of things don't, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, I do want to pivot away from the nerd for a second. I kind of want to talk about a few of the other series that you've done, specifically Monster Madness. So to those that don't know, it's kind of a retrospective series on classic horror movies. So can you tell us kind of a little bit about the origins of that and what producing that series was like? I mean, obviously they're shorter videos, so they're probably a little bit, obviously easier than nerd, but like, I guess like what made you want to start that series and whatnot?
Oh yeah, I guess you know what? It's funny now that I think about it, it seems that a lot of these things I do are based on something that I spent a lot of time on as a kid, and now as an adult, I think, well, what can I use all that knowledge for? Like, you just use it, for something. So with the video games, it was, a lot of it came from memories of these old games I played. And with movies, it was the same thing. I watched a lot of the Universal monsters. That was my favorite franchise. I was into the Godzilla franchise. Basically, I was a big monster kid. I just loved monster movies. And I was trying to write a book about it when I was a kid. So I was just putting together this really, sloppy, kind of handmade book where like I would copy pictures on a like Xerox machine and cut them out and paste them into the book. But I would type things, I'd print them out and put them into one of those like, those Mead notebook things. And then, that just kind of went away for a long time. And then after the nerd happened and after I started doing web series on YouTube, then I thought, hey, it would be cool to do a horror movie retrospective, just like the history of horror, just kind of like my highlights or picks that, just to kind of introduce people who might not be familiar. So I just called it Monster Madness. And it was basically just like a 1 minute, 2 minute like snippet, but every day. For 31 days in October, and it was just this big marathon, and people really liked it. So then I did a Godzilla one the next year, and then after that, decided to go back to horror films, and then just kind of do anything, whether it was obscure or famous. And I've been doing that every year until like a few years ago. Can't keep up with the 31-day thing anymore, but now it's celebrated in some way or another. So I'll post some new videos, but only a few of them, like scattered through the month. But now we have rental reviews. So now I think rental reviews is kind of like the new Monster Madness. So we're going to do horror movies, of course, this October, as well as the last one as we started doing that. And just fill the month with just horror type content. So it's always branded as Monster Madness.
Nice. That's awesome.
Monster Madness, yeah.
Yeah, it did like so many movies. I discovered so many movies that way because of that series. Was there any, and I'm sure you probably did too, was there any like big movies that you didn't really know about that you discovered because of doing research for Monster Madness?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's just from my own personal list, but then sometimes you'll branch out and you'll start, discovering something new. Yeah, Link. Yeah, there's this killer ape movie called Link. I don't even think it's on DVD. It's just VHS. But yeah, I reviewed that one last year. That one's pretty funny.
So, and there's another series that I love that you do, Board James. Um,
Yeah.
I think that worked out. Like that was like a really good bridge to like from the nerd to like Board James and creating that other character. Can you kind of tell us what producing that series was like, and then if you had any particular favorite episode? And I know it's probably Mr. Bucket, but maybe there's something else because that
Oh
was an
yeah.
amazing one.
Um. Let's see. Well, Dream Phone would I think
Oh, Dream Phone,
surpass
yes.
Mr. Bucket, and then I think Nightmare may have surpassed Dream Phone. Except Nightmare's not a standalone episode. It's a finale. It's kind of built upon all the other ones where it became like, oh, like like every time he dies, then he goes into whatever game he was last playing. So the world exists inside that game, and it kept going a game inside of a game. So it was like Inception, but with board games. And the last episode was the one where that all came together, and that was the big finale. So that's the way I just want to leave it. Um, Unless if I were ever to do it again, it would have to top that. But that last season was like half a year of just doing that. So um, I don't see that happening. But yeah, Board James was my favorite. That was my favorite series because it had a story. Like it had a continuous. And it didn't start that way. I loved how it started as just innocent playing board games, but then it started to develop into like that. This guy Board James is a psychopath, and it just got darker. It went on this really dark turn. So I like that. And then we killed off characters and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that series was super fun. It was like constant, like, I mean, on the surface, it's just like a review of a board game, but then like you watch it more, and like I said, it had that like deep narrative involved, and you guys were doing a bunch of like unexpected, crazy stuff, and just looked like you were having a great time making it.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
Hmm.
Speaking of something that you hopefully you had a great time making, I wanted to say personal congratulations on the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. Creating a
Oh,
film just has to be nuts, and I'm not gonna like make you get into it and like all the different things about it. I
mhm.
mainly just want to ask, what did it feel like to finally have it done and to have it be just like on the big screen, like you made a movie? Like, what was that feeling like?
Oh yeah, it felt great to finally see the finished product. Um, I mean, the stress never left until like the movie was actually screening because then it was like technical problems in the like projection booth and stuff like that. So it was like even the problems that we were facing while shooting were leading up until the very moment it screened. Um, like one screening we had like sound issues. One time it was out of sync, but we finally got to show it, and most of the screenings went fine. I was always just disappointed when the surround sound didn't work because if you hear that movie with the surround sound, it is amazing. The Blu-ray has it, so if you have a surround sound system, uh, it's really good. And that was my sound designer was fighting for that. Dimitri, he was saying, we got to do surround sound, and I'm like, that's going to be real complicated. I don't really know. And I remember I was burning the discs, and I kept trying to like get it out, like to output the surround, and I'm like, this isn't working. I can't get it to work. And finally, I got it to work in my living room, and I heard it, and I was like, oh, now I know what you mean. Like, holy crap, this sounds so good. Like when there's an explosion, you could hear it like go over your head. Like it sounds like things are just coming from around the room. And I'm like, yeah, we need to do this surround. And then I was fighting for it, with him too.
Nice. So that's awesome. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of one of the big things, like with cinemas, like we all have big screen TVs in our house, but like in terms of like that
Mhm.
actual sound being able to just rumble everywhere, like that's kind of something that's still unique to movie theaters for the most part. But that's cool. That's awesome that I'm glad that he got that surround sound and that you guys were able to do that because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Uh-huh.
Just a couple more quick questions. We're almost out of time. One thing I always wanted to know, the Angry Video Game Nerd episode for Indiana Jones, the Indiana Jones trilogy. Towards the end of the episode, you look like you have your whip and you're like trying to whip the game, but then it looks like a light or a lamp goes out. Was that on purpose or was that an accident?
Hitting it was an accident, but nothing really happened. It was just kind of like, oh shit. But it was exaggerated, like, add the glass sound in and then make it look like something got messed up.
No, I thought that was hilarious. No, I loved that part because I was like, wait, did he do that on purpose or not?
No. So it was kind of real, just exaggerated.
That's perfect. Well, I guess that's kind of how some of the best scenes come up. Awesome. So I got to know, I don't know if you publicly said this, but after hundreds, maybe thousands of bad games that you played, obviously Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was kind of the first, like, this is the worst game ever. But after all the years of playing games, of playing bad games, is there any one that stands out as the worst now, like worse than Jekyll and Hyde? Maybe a Big Rigs or Plumbers Don't Wear Ties or Hong Kong 97?
Well, those three you mentioned, Big Rigs, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, and Hong Kong 97, they're almost like not even games. There's kind of a level below Jekyll and Hyde where they just don't really qualify. It's like it's sort of a game. I mean, I guess Hong Kong 97, it has the shooting parts. It's like it is a game technically, but Jekyll and Hyde is still the worst game that's actually a game that I know, like personally, because there's some kind of psychological effect it has. It's just the right amount of frustration where it just gets under my skin and brings out my Mr. Hyde. It's just like anything that is intuitive about a game, it just goes against everything. Like the cane not working. Like, why do you have a cane? And if it doesn't hurt anybody, like the way the spiders come down from the tree, and they look like they have a pattern, but right when you try to go under it, they like change the pattern. It's like the game is really just messing with you the whole time.
And that's great to know. I'm glad that's the way, and that's very true. Like, especially even more recently, what was the Amiga game that you guys played? The full motion video one, the one that episode. What was that? The Western one. Yeah, like I see, like those games just don't count. Really, like it's just like I don't know what anyone was doing.
Yeah, there's some that just don't. Crazy Bus. Like
so much out there. Well, James, we are pretty much out of time, but I just want to thank you so much again for coming on and talking with us. And thank you so much for all that you do. And congratulations again on the movie and all the stuff that you're doing right now. We can't wait to see what you got going.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Thank you for doing the pre-recorded one, and tell everybody else I said hi.
Well, everybody say hi to James for me. Let's give him a round of applause. Hey. All right. That'll do it for us, guys. See y'all back at the studio.